All right, here is my miter saw stand project I worked on for a lot longer than I should have, but I hope it's going to help out and it's going to minimize dust. So what you see here is my new rigid 12-inch sliding miter saw, and then I got a BORA stand. It's a really nice stand, has the extensions on the side. You can see one of them is flipped out to give you more room and it rolls around. And then I built in some custom drawers after talking to them and learning about the weight limits that we could have. So here it is. So let's take a little bit closer look at it. I mean, we can see here, I put in a drawer on the bottom there. Um, the drawers and just this hood, dust hood, made it heavier. So there are wheels on the back to roll it around, but I put some of these Workbench wheels on the front so that I can step on those, pop it up. Makes it a lot easier to slide around. It has gotten quite heavy. I mean, it is. They told me I could do about 350 pounds, and it's definitely a couple hundred pounds. So, um, you know, those wheels up front definitely help roll it around because it just has the wheels in the back otherwise. Of course, those were sufficient without all this other stuff. But so let's see what else. You can see I did another drawer up front. So I've got a drawer down here, and then you can see that I did this with again, those are kind of those Workbench pop-up wheels. And then here's one drawer, which actually I never even thought about it, but now it's going to be hard to open without popping the wheels up, but that's okay. I'm not going to worry about that. Maybe I'll end up repositioning those. So I have a drawer there, right? Then I just have some space here where I could put stuff. I thought about putting an angled drawer there too, but then I was just thinking for weight reasons, just leave it like that. So can still set stuff in there. And then here's my big drawer. So, right, so there's a nice big deep drawer. Kind of put all woodworking type stuff over here, a lot of sanders, just because that makes the most sense to me. So I tried to stick with the same colors. I found an orange that doesn't match the BORA exactly, but it comes really close to matching the rigid orange. And it was just, an easy one to find off the shelf at Home Depot or any other store. Added these as well. These are just some handles to, again, help maneuver it. Initially, I thought I tried to put some in right here, but of course it was just too much weight. So I needed to actually go into the frame of the actual BORA stand. Up until then, I was able to avoid, nothing else is built like into the stand where I had to cut or modify the stand. I just put, 2 holes here for rivet nuts. So again, not bad. Not too worried about that. All right, so you can see how we attach here on each side to attach the dust hood, and then just gravity also helps keep it in place. And if we look around back here, you can see that I have a little extension off there, those flip up shelves. And so that's also carrying a lot of the weight here. So built in some lights. So these lights are actually controlled via an app, okay? And then you see this other piece I built into a shelf. This is just so if I decide to take the hood off because I'm rolling it outside. Again, the hood part itself, that enclosure is not super heavy, but it's just big and awkward. So it'll be easier to go ahead and just clip it to here. You can see I put some eye hooks there and I put back corner too. So I can just clip it up and then I can go ahead and roll out the rest of the stand and the miter saw on its own. All right, so looking in here, you can see the big hood in the back, obviously the attachment to the dust collection port there. And then I have these side collection ports as well, okay? So I wouldn't have to do anything if I just had a straight up regular miter saw, but since I have a slider and it slides back so far, I figured out I needed to kind of build some doors essentially on here. So these actually pivot out. You can see that they roll out right now. I'm too tight right now with the hose, but it would just pop out like so. Okay, so that allows me to get to some of those other angles. But again, if you did not have a sliding miter saw, I could have just left it as a straight up box. But instead I built those doors so you can see the hinge is on there. All right, then I have another dust collection port on this side and a little elbow that drops down. All right, so that's kind of the gist of it. Used mostly, I tried to use aluminum as much as I could, kind of minimize weight, and because I thought it looked cool. But then there's a lot of wood, and then there's some of this plastic kind of lattice, actually, is what it is, to trim over it. So, quite the project. Took a lot of time, but due to COVID restrictions and some other stuff going on with my job, I was able to have some time to work on it for, most days for a couple hours here and there. So anyway, definitely happy with how it turned out. Not necessarily happy with how strong my dust collector is. So maybe I need to look at getting a stronger dust collector. That might be something I end up doing because I just don't feel like it does a good enough job of sucking the dust when you start cutting. So that could be an issue with that. Anyway, overall though, a lot of work, but if it helps minimize dust and it gives me more space, then it seems like a good idea. So there it is.